All right, everyone, welcome to a new day. Welcome to a new year. 2025 has arrived, and I'm still spending my days with Stevie.
Do you want me to say it? Hamish, I'm delighted to be in this position. All your wee smart quips and all that, you can show off to the audience, but I know deep down that you would rather not be anywhere else with anyone else. So very nice to spend the new year with you. My first foot, if you will.
Your first foot?
I remember that they did all that first, like you went and go and see neighbours and all that. It was the first foot of 2025. So you are the first person that I'm seeing in 2025, really.
Okay, I
I
see
don't know.
what you've
I don't
done
know what
there.
that say. Don't know what it says about my company, but there we are.
Yes, we're both unhappy, everyone. But everything is good. We're into the new year. We've got a derby to preview tomorrow at Ibrox, which is always interesting. Plenty to chat about that game. I think we're all looking forward to this game as well, Stevie. It's going to be a big game. They're always big, but certainly given how they're playing at the moment, I think we go in with and how we're playing. Obviously, that goes without saying. We go in with a hell of a lot of confidence.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it. None of this wins for me when I'm showing all that respect to the other team and I'm quite edgy and cautious. Like genuinely do believe we should be going to Ibrox looking to win, looking to show why we're the best team in the league, and I don't think there'll be a lot of people opposing that, and I'm sure any Rangers fan who is daft enough to watch this channel
Daft.
would agree. Aye, well. Oh, sorry, of course, I did the Premier Celtic site, of course, I forgot that they've got obsessed with mobs just like we have with their channels. But nah, honestly, looking forward to it. I think we're in excellent form. They aren't. And you know what? The audience will love this one because usually I am fully the cliche such as form goes out the window and for these games, which I previously used to think was the case, but no, not here. I think they'll be beginning to absolutely dreading it. Our fans will be beginning to looking forward to it. I certainly am. And I think that the big thing about it is Brendan Rodgers and the players will get in with a really top professional attitude. And I think they'll be, eager to show everybody why they are the best in the biz, and looking forward to seeing them doing it. Hopefully they prove me and my bullish words right here.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in feeling like that. I mean, I think the thing I was actually thinking earlier before we came on, that form goes out the window cliche that's always trotted out ahead of these games. And I guess what that means is that quite often in these derby games, your form leading up to the game doesn't necessarily, guarantee a result. And often, we've all turned up to derbies feeling confident and lost them. But equally, I think we've turned up to derbies feeling confident and won them kind of convincingly as Celtic fans. I mean, I was going to bring this up later, but I think last 13 derbies, we've won 10 of them. There's been 2 draws and there's been 1 Rangers win, which was in a dead rubber at the end of the 2022-23 season. So I guess that's a part of this game too on Thursday, not allowing them to beat us because we've obviously got a bit of a hold over them at the moment. But yeah, I mean, form goes out the window, but like, does all the kind of stuff surrounding both teams go out of the window as well? And especially with that lot, I mean, they're going in not feeling good about themselves. Is Ibrox going to be as ferocious as it normally is, Stevie? Given that none of them are seemingly feeling too good about this game. If things don't go well for them and we maybe get an early goal, like has happened in, I think, 2 of our last 3 visits to Ibrox, Daizen Maeda scored within a couple of minutes. What does the atmosphere turn like then? So it's an interesting one.
Interestingly, in those 2 games where Daizen Maeda scored early, both games have resulted in a draw, weirdly enough, through each game, then for each one. But yeah, somebody I saw this post actually, and I posted it up as well, Ella, you might have seen it, but it was a Rangers fan actually saying it's got all the recipes for a real shocker for them tomorrow. 3 o'clock kick-off, lots more time on the bevy, people raging before a ball's kicked, and the very plausible chance that we could do them, meaning, there would be a real toxic atmosphere for them. I think that's what we're all dying to see. But, look, many times, I'll go back down memory lane when I remember when Rangers were trouncing us in the 90s. Although, to be fair, we always seem to get a result against them way more than they do against us now. But I will never forget, like, getting into the games against Rangers, you knew you were second best. They were by far the superior team in that era for me growing up. Didn't stop Celtic Park being some atmosphere in these games, and the fans fully believing that we could get something. 9 times out of 10 we didn't. But their fans will be in some mood for it. Like, see for all the moans about St Mirren and Motherwell, see for all the complaints they've got about Clement, and for all Dessers as a dud, and Jack Butland has now been found out for what he is. They'll forget about that. They'll be right up for it.
Do you think?
I think they will. I think they will for it. Like, it's still going to be packed, and there's not going to be really a lot of spare seats. But yeah, it's the big thing I've got about it is Celtic are no stranger to this intimidating fixture anymore, and going to Ibrox with no fans. Like last season, won there and we drew there, and I think the key is to silence that crowd in the first 15-20 minutes. Do that, and you've got a real strong chance of getting a result. And I think Brendan Rodgers simply is a better manager and knows he's got a complete sort of hold over Clement, and he'll know exactly what to do to get that result. There's so much pressure on Clement now, isn't there? We said that going into the final, he really needed to win that, to show that he has progressed as a manager for them. He's went backwards now ever since that final, and those 2 results in the festive period, contrasting to our 2 positive wins, pile that on him. And as we've seen, he and Rangers don't deal with pressure anywhere near as well as what Brendan Rodgers and the Celtic side do.
I think pressures are a really important word there, and they are, as you say, Rangers are under like immense pressure going into this game, but because of where they find themselves in the league and the fact that at home as well, and like this is apparently, Stevie, this is the last derby where we're not going to have away fans. We'll see if that actually happens later in the season. And obviously people have their thoughts on that. I think it's much better when you do have away fans. But I think we found at Celtic Park the atmosphere sometimes for these derbies isn't quite as good when there's not away fans. I know like people say, the 3-0 game in February was, that famous game was amazing. That was an outlier, an anomaly. Everything came up to make that an incredible game and an incredible night. But I think generally when you don't have the away support there to vent your fury at, in a nice way, of course, a respectable way, just the one finger. I think that the atmosphere, I think the atmosphere isn't as good, and I just think normally I think you'd really want Celtic fans. I still would rather we had fans there on Sunday, but I think 2 things, as you say, we've proven we can get results there without any fans. It's not even like a factor anymore. The team know they can do it, and also I just think if we make a fast start, and I take your point, maybe before the game, the lead up to it, they'll be belting out Ibroxonia and Simply the Best, which is kind of ironic these days, don't you think? But I think the atmosphere will be good at that point. But I think if the game starts and they don't make a fast start, and if there's a few misplaced passes, you're going to hear groans very early on, which is kind of rare for derby games. Normally derby games are a wee bit like European games in that, a misplaced pass, it's fine, you kind of build on it. Whereas I think if they're making misplaced passes in the first 10 minutes and we make a fast start, or, if we manage to get a goal, then, I think that stadium could really turn. Meanwhile, I just think our players and Brendan Rodgers are just saying, just show you're better than them. Simple as that. Be focused. And I think, as I say, if we start well and imagine we get the first goal, we could put Ibrox into meltdown, Stevie.
Yeah, I had shades of, there was a game, January 1994, I was too young to go to, but I listened to it on the old wireless, and Rangers were like 3-0 up in 15 minutes, and it was real, like the atmosphere at Celtic Park. As a wee guy, this is going to sound pathetic, right? As a wee guy, I remember them hearing on the radio, there's missiles and all that coming down in the pitch, and as a wee, I genuinely at that time thought there was like rockets and all that being fired at Celtic Park,
nuclear warheads.
Unbelievable. I'm fucking Fazlane loyal here, but honestly, that's what I thought. But anyway, point being, the way that we felt in those 15 minutes, it was like, how is it going to get much worse? Every chance we could do that to them and reverse that feeling, because I think what really gives me a lot of hope for it is Nicholas Kuhn's looking back, and he's looking right in the mood again. He's got 2 goals in his last 2 games after, we were dreading is going to be out for a long time. Alistair Johnson looks as if he had a bit of a tepid game against him in the cup final.
He's injured.
But I thought against, but you could tell but then, I thought when it came to that match the other day against St Johnstone, I thought he looked excellent making those trademark lung-busting runs, and him and Nicholas Kuhn down that wing together in the relationship they've got up against Hefty. And I think it would probably be maybe Barami, I could say. And I don't know if they'll do Hefty and Yilmaz or whatever, but they're not going to have a prayer against the two. And then I just even think about it for all that they're going about Raskin in midfield is, that this pit bull or whatever he is meant to be. We've got, Engels playing so well now for us. Paulo Bernardo hangs his streets above any Rangers midfielder, and he's not even guaranteed to get in our team now. As well as Callum McGregor, the record he's got. It just gives you so much confidence, and I'm really careful not to come across as if I'm being arrogant too much here. But again, I've said this before on the channel with you, Hamish, this Celtic side have proved more often than not in the big games, not just this season, but this calendar year, they've turned up and they've done the business domestically. Look how many points clear we are, look at the amount of goals they've scored, look at how little we've conceded. They've talked the talk and they've backed it up on the pitch. And all too often this season, Rangers, they've done all. In fact, they haven't really done all the blustering bravado in the media, because I think that was all last season when I think Cantwell was leading that charge, wasn't he? He's been rushed away back down south and
forgotten all about him, to be honest.
And then there's not really been aim to doing that. So to be fair, they've maybe learned a lesson in that respect. But yeah, even defence as well. Like when I looked at them against Motherwell, the fact that first goal, that first Motherwell goal, that was a shocker. And if that's that, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the guy who scored for Motherwell, right? But see if he's doing that to him.
You're talking about Big Ap Sam?
Him, the guy who scored the first goal, number 7, I think.
Yeah.
But right, so if he's able to do that to them, can you imagine the likes, Hugo Furuhashi, Nicholas Kuhn and Dyson Maeda, the 3 of them are likely to do? Because as I say, the amount of spaces they're going to leave huge spaces as well. They can't afford to be cautious. Their fans will want to see them going for it, see if they sit back and see if they just invite pressure. Their fans are going, you will notice their fans will go absolutely ballistic at them. They want to see them start putting us under pressure and camped in our half. And I think that's where we're going to get the opportunity to strike at them, because we'll be, the way that we can focus on attacking that transition and how quick we can do it with the likes of Kuhn and Maeda. We get that right, we've got so much joy against them, Hamish. I can already see it, but I think, again, like I'm talking here, Brendan already know how to set us up, but that's that's why I'm just so optimistic getting into this one. And for as long as you've known me, I've never been like this for these matches. I've always been really edgy and cautious, so maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe I should go back to that, because our record since we've been doing these is actually quite good. The last thing I want is this to backfire and jinxes, but I just don't believe in that. I just thoroughly believe in the fact that we are such a competent side compared to Rangers.
Stuart Kettlewell, the Motherwell manager, spoke about turning the environment into a positive, into an advantage for them in the game on Thursday. And I think what he meant by that clearly was turning the Rangers support. And I know it was a home game for Motherwell, but obviously probably half the stadium made up of Rangers fans, turning them into being an advantage for Motherwell. And I genuinely think that's a huge part, and I know we're kind of going on about the atmosphere a bit, but I think that's a huge part of the game. I think I'm feeling good as well, but I think always at Ibrox it's about that start you make, and the team need to be at it right from the start, because you know what it's like if they we've seen it even in Europe recently for them, against Spurs, if they get a goal, albeit not even an early goal, if they just go ahead in the game and get a bit of a head of steam built up, it can still be a really tough place to go, obviously especially for a derby. So I do think that's the key thing for me, is making a really fast start, like we used to in Brendan Rodgers' first spell. I remember being at a few games. I know there was the 3-2-1 when they made the fast start and then we came back to win, but I remember one earlier in that season when probably, I think there was maybe a similar gulf between the teams as there is right at this moment. And as always, Ibrox was rocking before the game, the derby, and we just made such a fast start. I remember we nearly scored a screamer. I think it was Tom Rogic after 30 seconds. And we just gradually built in that game and just ended up winning convincingly. think 2-0, and that's kind of what I potentially see happening on Thursday. But it's all about just making a solid start in the game, get that ball moving around, and silence Ibrox, because that, as I say, that would be my one fear. And we have seen it in some derbies recently. Like if they go ahead, it can be, you know, a tough game for us. But equally, when you look at those games when they go ahead, we do tend to come back even in those games, even if we're not playing particularly well. The New Year's one a few years ago when we're 2-1 down, looking out of it, and Kyogo pops up with a late goal. I think it was his first ever derby goal. And, you know, the cup final's another example. We all kind of felt a bit out of it at half-time, and a lot of people probably didn't think we were necessarily going to come back, but the team found a way to fight back. So when you've got that record and that sign over Rangers, it's hard not to feel confident. I don't think it's going to be a drubbing. I think it might still be a pretty narrow win, but you just think we're ahead of them in so many different departments, every department, including the manager. And you just feel like this Celtic team isn't going to be like drawn into like a kind of they're not going to allow their performance to be lowered to Rangers level, which I think has happened maybe in years gone by. I just feel like we're so focused and just ready to turn up and do this. I think that's the point we've reached here, where we can probably turn up and win and just move on with our lives. But no, looking forward to it. Team-wise, I'll give you my team, Stevie, and you'll disagree with me, I'm sure, in a couple of positions. Schmeichel, Johnston, Carter-Vickers, Scales, Taylor, McGregor, Engels, Rayo, Kuhn, Kyogo, Dyson. What you say? That's by the way, I would probably go Alex Vai at left back. I think I would. This is more kind of what I think Brendan Rodgers will do.
I think you're right. I think that's the exact team they'll go with as well. I think he'll stick with, you know my thoughts on it. Hatate coming off the bench against Rangers, I think would do some damage. I'd like to see the likes of, I think we get more control in the game with Engels, Bernardo and Callum McGregor. I think we'd get way more control in the middle, and I think we'd work it far quicker. In fact, see, to be honest, against St Johnstone, by the way, this isn't me saying get Callum McGregor out of the team. Please don't come into footing me here. But I thought in the middle of the park we played far quicker football without Callum McGregor there. But of course, against Rangers, he's probably the first man on the team sheet. So I still feel that with Paulo Bernardo in that team, you get way more control in the middle of the park. He's always a standout against Rangers. But yeah, I think he'll want to go with the creativity. Mario Hatate there for the start. So I think that'll be the midfield. Add to Alex Vai as well. Less mental passing from left back, which saw Greg Taylor was capable of. And by the way, Taylor as well, I think against Motherwell too, did one of the daft passes that very nearly get capitalised. There was a goal from that almost. So again, he's not learned from it, but he just has to cut that out simply on Thursday. I agree with the rest of the defence and the front three as well. Speak for itself. I think that'll be the team. But if it was up to me, I would definitely have Bernardo starting and Alex Vai. Other than that, probably will be the team, and more interestingly enough, Scales coming back in too. Looks like Trusty has got to prove himself all over again after the cup final, which I think is a wee bit harsh. But in the manager, they trust.
But he was ill though, wasn't he, for Tannadice, and then he's just, I know he was like back in the squad and stuff, but I'm not sure. He might just have a wee bug. He might well come in for this, Trusty. I just feel potentially with Liam Scales playing, I think 3 or 4 matches in a row, do you necessarily change your back line for this game, especially when Trusty's never played at Ibrox? I wonder if that comes into the thinking with Arnie Engels as well. But I just think Engels has played so well, and as I said yesterday, I really like him on the right hand side. The wee combinations with Johnston and Kuhn. And I've just got visions of like Engels curling in balls for Kyogo in the middle, and I think they're really going to struggle to deal with Kyogo's movement. I don't know who will play at the back for them. I'm hoping it's the guy proper, because
no. I think it'll be Balogun and Sterling, because I think their fans already know that guy proper can handle it. He just looked as if I don't know how he lasted so long in the final as well, but yeah, proper against St Mirren and against Motherwell was absolutely atrocious. I reckon it'll be Captain Amazing at right back.
Hello everyone, it's Hamish from the future. Just a quick editor's note. Obviously we recorded this video slightly in advance due to New Year. Captain Amazing, as Stevie puts it, James Tavernier, has since been ruled out of this match, so he won't play. Very excited about the front three. I mean, Dyson is always a big player in these fixtures, kind of more so at Ibrox than anywhere else probably. But Kuhn, who's played at Ibrox once before, but he wasn't the Nicholas Kuhn that we all know nowadays, it's fair to say. I'm massively excited about him running at Hefty, who he completely tore apart, I thought, in the final, but maybe more space in the game at Ibrox. Like I can just, because they're obviously going to have to go for it. They need to win this game, and that just excites you a lot, seeing potential counter-attacking opportunities. Here's a question for you. Has a derby ever cost a Celtic or Rangers manager his job? Was any that you can remember ever sacked directly after a derby? Because it must have happened, but I can't actually think of any examples.
No, there was always talk of Paul Le Guen getting the chop back in 2016, but he got a draw against... No, 2006, but he got a draw against us, and it was a fairly credible performance. No, do you know what? I can't think of any, like Walter Smith ones.
It's interesting that, given that the games are so important and built up and integral to a season, it's interesting that very rarely managers, or if ever, certainly 21st century, are managers sacked directly after defeats. The reason I bring it up is it could be an option here, potentially. No,
definitely. I mean, I think there's a lot of Rangers fans probably stunned that he wasn't given his jotters in the last two defeats. So yeah, I think if they get humped here, they'll have no choice but to act on it. But I'm still trying to think back. I remember what I would say is I remember like caretaker managers we've had when we get trounced off Rangers. Like those results basically meant there was no danger they were getting a job. Like I always remember Kenny Dalglish, back in March 2000, all this talk before that was, remember we did the Birds Bar presser. Do you not remember this?
Mate, I was like 3.
No, it was Kenny Dalglish did an actual press conference in Birds Bar at the time with Vidal Rousseff before a Rangers game, but talking us up, saying Rangers weren't this great side. That was for what I remember anyway, and we were going to Ibrox like something like 18 points behind, and they went and gubbed us 4-0, and I think after that it was a case of, right, he's definitely never getting this job again. But no, that's a very good question, because even in the Kishinya days with Rangers, they get trounced 5-1, didn't they? But he still survived another season because he was just in the job. And even Warburton didn't get directly sacked after a 2-1 defeat. What a question that is. I think the answer to that is no, but I'm sure one of the no.
It must have happened away in yesteryear.
Maybe. Even the Liam Brady days, maybe. Oh, I don't know. Great question, but I can't remember any.
Okay, we'll open that up to all you wonderful people. Right, official-wise, referee for this game is Don Robertson. The assistants are David Room and Ross McLeod. On VAR is Nick Walsh, while assistant VAR is Daniel McFarlane. I see Rangers apparently got away with the decision at Fir Park. I mean, surely not, Stevie. They're the persecuted ones.
Right, let's not go into that. All I will say is, where's Frank Connor? Where is Francis Connor when you for this game? God's sake.
Christ, I think there'd have been that Ibrox would have gone down into meltdown if he'd have been on the touchline for that one. Just briefly, favourite New Year derbies. There's been a few good ones over the years. A record New Year derbies actually isn't maybe as good as you would think, but there are some reasons for that. I mean, the 3-0 win we had over them in February, the one I was speaking about earlier, that was technically a New Year derby that was just moved. Why was that moved again? COVID, wasn't it?
Thank you, Nicola Sturgeon. Never criticise her. Great leader. I think my favourite one was the 2-0 in 1998, Burley and Lambert with the goals, because that was like a really major one in stopping them winning the league that season. As a young guy, I'd never actually seen us win at New Year. But really, I remember notable ones, like being at Ibrox, we drew 1 each when we were really unfancied. Paul Byrne with a screamer in 1995. and then one with, do you remember the one in 1999, I think maybe it was, with Henry?
I'm going to say no.
Right,
Again,
remember,
I was
right, okay,
like
there was
two.
Maravchik hit a shot off the bar, Larson headed it in, and it took like half an hour to go
Oh
in.
yeah.
That was a New Year game. I was at that one as well. That was
And was it Klaus? Did he fly into the net or something like that?
like we were right into the side of it. But look, don't worry, we'll get to your last year's. But for me, that one in 1998 with Lambert and Burley scoring was such a significant moment in my childhood and following Celtic. Really, really special.
Yeah, I was actually trying to think, and as I say, there's maybe not been as many as you would think. The one that always comes to my mind, and it's not my choice because we didn't win it, and it was a bit of a miserable game in the end. But when I think of New Year's derbies, that's the first one I think of was the 1-1 at Celtic Park under Tony Mowbray. And I think it's just because you might remember there was snow heaped up on the side of the pitch. So I think my mind just goes to snow, Evander Snow. But we were pretty good that day. We had that goal disallowed. Scott McDonald scored a header, and then we gifted a Lee McCulloch header a few minutes later. I just summed up that season. My choice is probably the next season. No, maybe 2 years later. Yeah, it would have been 2 years later, obviously, because it was back at Celtic Park. More adverse weather conditions. Midweek game. Joe Ledley rises at the back post and heads in. I'm assuming it was a Charlie Mulgrew corner. It must have been. And that was just what a run that was from the depths of Rugby Park. And I was there that day as well, 3-0 down at half time to come back and draw that game. I don't know how many points we were, 15 or something behind at that stage, to then go ahead of them by winning that game against them. That was a special night. From memory, a terrible game. Really, I remember that being a pretty poor game. So, with the wind kind of ruined it, didn't it?
Sorry, can I also bring up the one me and you went to one time? Remember? One of the worst ever. 0-0. When we were all over in the first half, and then the second half they dominated. It was a strange game. But again, that was another one where we were so far ahead. They get a draw, and then it was all the talk after it that, this league's not finished, and they're there for the taking. And then we won the league by, what was that? 20 points or something. So I
just remember us getting absolutely soaked after that game, like more drenched than we've ever been, and sitting in the Drygate, that great bruiser, just drying off. Did you get barred for Greggs that night as well or something? I remember some sort of story, or you were giving cheek to the women or something, or you got cheek back for the women. I
know, I don't want my reputation's in the gutter as it is. Can we please not do this?
Okay, right. That's covered your New Year derbies then. 3 p.m. kickoff this one, Stevie, which is rare for a league derby. Not quite sure why it's the reason. I know Sky have a double header of Scottish football. They're starting with the Glasgow derby, finishing with the Dundee derby, which is on, I think, at 5:30. Pretty decent. They should have got the Edinburgh derby in as well and done a triple header, shouldn't they? But it still doesn't quite explain why it's 3 p.m. or I'm kind of surprised that the police would have gone for that. But as I say, it's a couple of extra hours for the Bears to get tanked up and vent their fury at Bold Phil.
And it's the first 3 o'clock kick-off since when, Hamish?
In the league?
Yes.
I don't know.
1998, 5-1, Maravchik 2, Larson 2 and Mark Burchell. Is that game? There you are. And I never made that game.
I just always thought the police were just set on lunchtime. So is this if they're 3 o'clock going forward, I know this is slightly different because it's a Thursday. If it was a Saturday, it wouldn't have been able to be shown in television. But if they can be 3 o'clock going forward, then do that, because the atmosphere would be even better.
Famous last words. Who knows how this one's going to turn out? So let's see if this one doesn't get postponed. And after 25 minutes, then we'll go with that. Right.
Okay. Looking forward to it though, Stevie. I think you're heading away for a few days as well, so enjoy that.
Yes, thank you, Hamish. I'm not quite in the heady heights of that wee rooftop in Melbourne, but I will be in sunny Stirling, so thank you for that, Hamish. Appreciated.
That's all right. We will catch up with you shortly on the channel at some stage in the future. The games are still going to come after this, so there's no winter break, and obviously transfer stuff as well. Who knows, by the time this is going out, Stevie, we might have signed someone. kind of doubt that, but you never know. Right, okay, everyone, thanks very much. Much appreciated. You can watch this and hopefully it's got you up for the game a little bit. It would be great to get to 12,000 subscribers by kickoff. We're at just over 11.5 at the moment. So yes, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, clicking the wee alarm bell, etc. All of these videos are also available as audio only podcasts as well, everyone. So check that out, and I'll be with you after the game. That will be dropping on Friday morning.